For decades, Israel and Iran fought a hidden war: spies, cyber attacks, and assassinations in the shadows. But in June 2025, the conflict exploded into open war. Missiles, soldiers, and chaos on live news. The region's fate and the world's stability now hang in the balance. Before 1979, Israel and Iran were unlikely partners, sharing intelligence, trade, and a wary friendship. But the 1979 Iranian Revolution changed everything overnight. The Shah fell. Ayatollah Khomeini's regime declared Israel an enemy. Iran cut ties and began arming proxy groups, Hezbollah, Hamas, and others, across the region. This axis of resistance encircled Israel, turning former partners into bitter adversaries. As Iran's nuclear program advanced in the 2000s, Israel saw an existential threat and turned to covert action. The Stuxnet cyber attack, developed with the US, crippled Iran's uranium enrichment at Natanz, setting back the program by years. Israel was also linked to a string of assassinations targeting top Iranian nuclear scientists, sending a chilling message to Tehran. These operations aimed to delay Iran's nuclear ambitions without triggering open war. For over a decade, sabotage and assassination defined the conflict, a high-stakes intelligence battle in the shadows. Iran, humiliated and frustrated, vowed revenge but mostly responded through proxies. This deadly cycle of covert attacks and retaliation steadily eroded the barriers to open confrontation. The shadow war was becoming harder to contain. For years, Iran's proxies attacked Israel, and Israel struck back, mostly in Syria and Lebanon. But in late 2023, the rules changed. Hamas launched a massive attack on southern Israel, backed by years of Iranian support. Israel's response in Gaza triggered retaliatory strikes from Hezbollah, opening multiple fronts. The conflict escalated rapidly. In April 2024, Iran launched its first-ever direct military assault on Israel. Over 300 drones and missiles, most intercepted. But the message was clear. In October, Iran struck again with advanced hypersonic missiles, claiming hits on key Israeli sites. The shadow war was now in the open. Iran was willing to risk direct confrontation, confident in its growing missile capabilities. For Israel, this was intolerable. The threat of hundreds of missiles, even if mostly intercepted, forced a strategic rethink. The era of proxy-only warfare was over. Both sides began preparing for a decisive, preemptive clash. The region was on the brink of a direct, devastating war. Early 2025 saw rapid escalation. Israel ramped up covert drone operations inside Iran, targeting missile launchers and IRGC infrastructure. At the same time, diplomacy collapsed. In February, the IAEA confirmed Iran was enriching uranium to 60%, just a step from weapons grade. Nuclear talks fell apart. For Israel and the West, Iran's dash for the bomb was now undeniable. Iran's proxies kept up the pressure. In May, Yemen's Houthis fired a missile at Ben Gurion Airport, injuring civilians and disrupting flights. The threat was now 360 degrees. Missiles could come from Iran or any of its proxies. Each side saw the other as crossing a red line. Israel's sabotage was an act of war. Iran's nuclear progress and proxy attacks were existential threats. The time for covert action was over. Both nations shifted to a war footing. The final trigger was about to be pulled. War was no longer a question of if, but when. The breaking point came on June 12, 2025. Israel's Mossad crippled Iran's air defenses with a coordinated drone attack, opening a window for a massive strike. Hours later, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a sweeping air campaign with over 200 advanced jets, hitting more than 100 strategic targets across Iran. Nuclear sites, missile plants, and IRGC headquarters were devastated. Top commanders and scientists were killed. The strikes shattered Iran's sense of security and sent a powerful message. Israel could strike at the heart of the regime. Iran's supreme leader vowed crushing retaliation. That evening, Iran unleashed Operation True Promise 3. 400 missiles and drones launched at Israel. Israel's air defenses, aided by US and UK forces, intercepted most, but some broke through, hitting military bases and, for the first time, civilian areas in Tel Aviv and Haifa. The war was now a brutal two-way exchange. Civilians on both sides paid the price. The myth of impenetrable defenses was gone. The conflict had entered a new, devastating phase. The world watched as the region spiraled into chaos. The shadow war was over. Open war had begun. The direct exchange plunged the region into crisis. In Iran, Israeli strikes sparked mass panic. Over 100,000 fled Tehran, creating chaos and shortages. The Iranian government imposed a nationwide internet blackout to control the narrative and suppress dissent. The international response was swift but divided. US and UK forces moved to protect Israel and vital shipping lanes. President Trump demanded Iran's surrender, threatening intervention, while other nations scrambled to evacuate their citizens. Iran's leadership remained defiant, framing the war as a holy struggle. On June 16th, Iranian missiles struck Israel again, hitting the US embassy and civilian areas, killing and injuring dozens. Attacks on diplomatic and civilian targets made a diplomatic solution even harder. The war had taken on a life of its own, fueled by decades of hatred and retribution. As of June 18, 2025, the situation remains volatile and dangerous. The conflict is now a full-scale hybrid war, airstrikes, missiles, cyber attacks, and a looming humanitarian catastrophe. Diplomatic efforts continue, but the internet blackout in Iran obscures the true scale of suffering. The world watches, hoping for de-escalation, fearing the worst. The Middle East faces an unpredictable, perilous future.